Good afternoon. This is Media Center Ukraine in Odessa. We continue our work, and now we will have the Minister of Defense of Ukraine, Mr. Oleksiy Reznikov. Good afternoon, Mr. Reznikov. I can hear you well, and I would first welcome Odessa with the opening of Media Center Ukraine. This is great news, so just happy birthday to you, and I promise to be your frequent guest to provide interesting information to your center and useful information as well. Thank you. I have the first question. This is the development of Ukrainian military-industrial complex, because the Western partners provide support to us, including artillery. But we know about the problem of projectiles. Is it possible to renew the production of projectiles of old format and for the equipment of NATO calibers? We have fine-tuned the productions of projectiles 152 including, and the structures of the Ukrainian defense company has been dealing with this. As for the further development, we should speak about different elements here, but I believe that in the nearest months they will increase their production. But we have tested everything, and this is quite effective. 155 caliber, which is for the modern NATO systems. The production has not been started yet, and we hope that for the support from our partners that will provide the munition to us. But we have the Ukrainian artillery system, Bogdana, for 155 millimeter, and we have tested it, and we have preliminary agreements with the producers. And if we will continue the development of our complex, and we will produce this artillery system, of course, we will also organize the production of projectiles for this system. So far, we have enough of 155 millimeters. And I would also remind that we have HIMARS or Mars 2 that also need munition, and the partners have been supporting us so far with this munition. As for the main challenge for our military industrial complex, we have two of them. This is to ensure the maintenance and repair of the systems. We should not only speak about artillery system here, the MLRs, but we also speak here about the armored vehicles, the small arms and mortars. That's why we have been developing the three-level maintenance system. The first level, this is the simple repairs that should be conducted on in the combat zone by the units, and we should ensure the necessary equipment and spare parts for this, including the manuals for this. The second level, this is repairs in Ukraine on Ukrainian enterprises that will have the relevant undertakings to ensure the constant maintenance and repairs. And the third level, this is quite difficult and complex cases in terms of different devices, electronic systems, etc. This will be conducted abroad on the premises of the enterprises of our partners in Poland, the Czech Republic. This is our neighbors who are ready. And today we have been conducting negotiations to ensure such repair and maintenance hubs. And I would like also to say that we should also develop the system of new technologies, including UAVs. And when I speak about UAVs, I'm not only talking about the aerial means, but also for water devices and ground devices. And unfortunately, we have such neighbor as Russia, and we should also be ready for different risks after our victory. That's why we have developing the system of drones in Ukraine, as well as electronic warfare. the counter-offensive means just to down the enemy's drones. This is the challenge for all local Ukrainian producers. I have the question from El Arab channel, which was provided by our colleagues from Kiev. The question is the following. Do you have any information about the number of Iranian combat drones yesterday of different types, Shaheds, Medjaheds, and others? Do you have some information about this right now? I will not be able to provide the exact number. I can say that the first consignment that was introduced to Ukraine was around 300 items, the main types of the drones, and almost all of them were already used, targeting our civilian objects, infrastructure, water supply, network, and heating points. We learned how to shut down the most of these drones, but unfortunately, this is not a 100% level so far. And we know that there are now new contacts for Iran to supply thousands of Dutch drones, but it doesn't mean that the supply has been over. And the Iranian party has been supplying these drones to other countries, and the situation is not that stable in their country. I hope that they will not be able to fulfill all the obligations under the contract signed by the Russian Federation. And Israeli colleagues also has destroyed some plants and factories producing such drones on the territory of the neighboring country. And I think that the amount of the drones will be less. And we also develop our air defense system that not only includes missiles, but we also use the special forms of small arms and surface-to-air missile systems to destroy these donors. And we should develop the network using the new systems. And you know that the Spanish government and the Ministry of Defense of Spain informed us that we will receive Hawking 23, and the training of 2 units have been almost finalized for Ukrainian soldiers. And I think that today we will get the information from the United States announcing the new package of the support to Ukraine. And I believe that Mr. Biden will announce this today. And I know about this, but we should wait for the official announcement. Thank you. Now I would like to give the floor to our journalists. Please introduce yourself. Dmitro Bogomolov, Live News. We have a lot of information about the withdrawal of Russian occupiers, but there is also information that this might be a trap. How would you evaluate the situation in the Kherson Oblast? Thank you, Dmitro, for your question. And of course, all of us can find this information in the news, and we understand that there are 2 elements there. And of course, this is the information psychological special operations, and we are very serious about any official statements from our enemy. And we believe only our intelligence data, and we, of course, verify everything first. When we know that their acts of goodwill are well known to us. That was the act of goodwill when they leave the Kiev Oblast and then Sumy and Chernihiv Oblasts, but that was preconditions by the operations of the Ukrainian armed forces. Then there was another act of goodwill when they withdraw from the Zmyny Island, and I think that they are ready for the next goodwill act to leave the territories of the Kherson Oblast, moving to the Dnipro coastline. But they need actually to lose some of the capacity and potentially thanks to our armed forces of Ukraine. We should also remember about the weather conditions that have their impact on this war. And when there is the rain regime, so to say, then of course it influences the situation. And you know that the different systems and canals in the Kherson Oblast that our enemy uses as artificial trenches. But I'm really very optimistic, not only about the Kherson operation, but I also believe, and this is a grounded belief, that we will be able to to finish this war by deoccupying all territories of Ukraine that have been under occupation starting from 2014, within the recognized borders of Ukraine, international recognized borders, as of 1991. Do we have any other questions from the floor? Olga Donska, the fifth channel. I have the question about the winter uniform for our frontline soldiers and those who are in the rear. What is the situation here? Do you have any support from our partners, or are we expecting something in terms of the support from our partners? Olga, thank you for your question. There is no drama here in terms of the winter uniform supply. I would like to remind that those armed forces who were the first to fight in February this year, they have all uniform, and actually we used our reserves and what we had stockpiled on warehouses. And thanks to the contracts that we have concluded with different enterprises, there is no problem with supplying different items. Sometimes we speak about the million or 100,000 items when it comes to socks or warm shoes or jackets. But there is no critical need, and we have even exceeded the supplies needed. And but we're not stocking up on uniform. And but as for the vests, you remember that there was a the critical need, but now we have the reserve on the warehouse. So the first priority is to supply those who are at the front line, to 1,300 kilometers from the northern to 1,000 part, and then the second line priority. And we are also provided the winter uniform to the 0 level, and there was the rotation. And during the rotation, we did not have enough time to supply winter uniform to the new frontline units. So we have coped with the situation. Everything is regulated now with the logistics units. And now everything is ensured during rotation. So as our soldiers receive the packages of winter uniform at once. So if there are some single cases where there is not enough supply, we have a hotline. And that's why I would like to ask you to inform us in terms of the lack of certain items, because every day, every night, we're supplying our warehouses with winter and summer uniform. So at the moment, there is no doubt that this issue has been already solved, and we will start to stock up on uniform. We have the next question from our journalist from Brazil. He will ask in English, and I will translate into Ukrainian. Hello, my name is Louis from NetTV from Brazil. I would like to ask you to address any comments regarding countries that did not decide if they support Russia or if they support Ukraine, and they say that they are neutral. For example, that India, China, and Brazil, for instance. Brazil wants to buy weapons from Russia, and they say that they are neutral. How could you address such countries like Brazil and BRICS?
Наших глядачів це журналіст з Бразилії. Він просить міністра оборони прокоментувати, звернутися до лідерів тих країн, які зараз залишаються нейтральними в протистоянні України з Росією. Він каже, що зокрема це країни БРІКС, Індія, Китай та в тому числі Бразилія, яка висловлювала, президент якої висловлював бажання закуповувати навіть зброю у Бразилії. Отже, пане Резніков, що ви можете сказати лідерам таких країн?
I would like to address not only the leaders of these countries, but also the people of these countries. And I would like to say the following. Today, the Russian Federation tries using terrorist tools and using terrorist influence on the peaceful neighbor who pose no threat. And now they're killing our population. They have been destroying our kindergartens, shops, our water and power supply systems, and they wanted us to destroy everything here. Try and just imagine that you could have faced something like this when your neighbor attacks you without no warning and without justifying the reason of such attack. This war changes the order of in the world with the supremacy of the law. Kremlin wants to change the situation with the predominance of force and not the supremacy of the law. And I would like to address you. And your countries are very big. You have significant needs. There are environmental challenges. There are food supply challenges. You can see what has been happening now in Asian and African countries because the Ukrainian grain cannot be transported there because the Russian Federation has been blocking the Black Sea area for us not to be able to supply grain, oil, and corn to people who are facing famine now. And these are tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people suffering. We have now different challenges like environmental issues and others that we have to fight together and not to impose death on neighboring countries. And if you allow Kremlin now to establish the supremacy of force on the earth, this means that tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, your children will try to hide from air bombing in the shelters and in the basements. Thank you very much for your answer. Do you have any other questions? If no, I would like to ask a question. Yesterday or the day before yesterday, this new media informed that Sweden does not want to supply the surface-to-air missile systems because of the neutrality. Do Western partners can help to solve this issue? And now I would like to address to the representative of the Brazilian mass media first. And this is one more signal, because actually you have the opportunity to provide munition for Leopard system, because not only Sweden but Brazil, not only Switzerland but Brazil also has this munition. And for Leopards, we need this munition to ensure the success of our humanitarian mission. I would like to say that we use these Leopards in the places with the grain hubs, and they protect sky from Iranian terrorist drones, not to destroy the logistics system of the grain hub. And I would like to remind once more that we supply grain, corn, and vegetable oil, sunflower oil, for the countries who have been facing famine right now. So if you supply this munition, like Leopard, cheetah munition, you will ensure the success of this humanitarian mission. Do we have some other questions from the floor? We have the question from the Newsweek journalist. Michael Vasura, Newsweek Journal magazine from the United States. And we will have the elections the next week, and we are worried that if the Republicans will get the majority in the Congress, that can impact the humanitarian support of Ukraine. Are there any discussions in Kiev with regard to the situation? Are you concerned that the amount of the support from the United States can decrease the next year? Thank you very much for your question. Today is the 4th of November, and just a year ago, on the 4th of November, the Parliament of Ukraine appointed me as the Minister of Defense of Ukraine. And actually, I don't worry anymore. I don't have time for worries. I just need to do my work. And that's why I do not worry about the results of the United States elections. This is due to the fact that I have met numerous times with the representatives of Congress and Senate, and every time the delegations had representatives of two parties. I am in constant contact with Lloyd Austin, the Secretary of Defense, and with his team, and I have a clear understanding that the support of the United States will be the same bi-party. And I believe that this is more of the election campaign due to the elections. And we can actually see this. We have seen this recently in a range of countries: Denmark, Switzerland, Italy, and the United States are no exception. But I believe and I feel personally that most of the United States people support Ukraine in this war, and the American people want Ukraine to win over Russian. And the Americans are very pragmatic. They like to win, and they understand that they will be the Ukrainian partners to win over the evil that threats the whole world from the Kremlin. Moreover, I would like to remind you that by the decision of the Madrid summit, where the Ukrainian people, in the representation of the main partner of the NATO, has clearly defined that the main threat for the next decade is the Russian Federation. And this means that the victory of Ukraine in the combat zone will mitigate the threat for the NATO countries. And this means the decreased expenses and costs for ensuring the defense of different countries, including the United States. So this is the United States' interest to increase the defense of Ukraine for the victory. And I believe that even after the elections, everything will be at the same high level, or it can even improve. We have the time for the last question. I would like to ask you or to give us some hint about the new support from our Western partners. Can you provide information about the names of the different munition or weapons, or what can we expect in the nearest future? I can just provide some clarification. After my visit to Brussels, where I met the Ramstein meeting, the Ukraine Defense Contact Group with the involvement of the United States and the representative of NATO countries, I explained that our first priority is air defense system or missile defense system. Our partners are well aware of this, and today they're first of all interested in improving the defense of our skies. These are the new systems of COP23, and you know that we already have irises, NASAMS are on their way, and our staff has been trained for this. We will get the Crotale system from the French partners, and we have been also finalized the talks about the different air defense systems with other countries, and also we should speak here about the supply of munition for MLRS that we use on the territory of Ukraine. And also the air defense that will help us to dawn the enemy's drones, and the UAVs that we need for our artillery. So the work is underway, the work is ongoing, but I would like to emphasize that our partners are ready to provide not only the short-term or mid-term support, they are ready to support us long-term, and they understand the necessity of this. This includes the repair and maintenance hubs, the establishment of new platforms, and the possibility to order from their producers weapons that Ukraine needs not only for the upcoming 1, 2, or 3 months, because everyone understands that the victory of Ukraine, and I'm sure that it will be in the nearest future, does not mean that this support should be stopped. Ukraine has proved to the world that it has the necessary experience and knowledge how to fight the Russian Federation. The expertise that the armed forces of Ukraine have are unique. No other army in the world has such experience. That's why, that was the first, the emergency, the most important priority after the war, because only Ukraine can protect the world from the Russian Federation. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for answering our questions. We hope that this is not the last time you're here with us, and we hope for the victory in the nearest future. Thank you. That was the last briefing for today. That was the Minister of Defense of Ukraine, Mr. Oleksiy Reznikov. So stay tuned, and the next week we will continue our work. Have a nice day.